Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports. We are live here for a little bit of an off-season stream. Week off now of the NBA Draft Lottery. The dust has settled on the draft lottery. Now we're looking at the draft. We're looking at some off-season decisions, but around the NBA, hey, we're looking at some big games. NBA Conference Finals get started tonight, and then we have. If both series go 7 games, we have a conference finals game every day for the next 14 days. And that's going to be a whole lot of fun. So NBA at a great spot right now. And I mean, what great series we have, huh? What amazing matchups we have here. We don't have to root against the Celtics. We're good. Don't have to root against the Cavs. We're good. We got a nice old school rivalry being reignited between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. I don't love the Knicks fan base. In fact, I don't really like them. Not a big fan of the Knicks fan base, but okay. It's not an unlikable group. Easy to root for those guys, or easy to not root against those guys, let's say. Pacers are a fun team. No issues with the Pacers going deep. On the other side, no beefs with the Oklahoma City Thunder. It'd be great if Shea could go and win a championship, but there's nothing really unlikable about this Timberwolves team. So, yeah, ultimately, it's just I get to sit and watch as a neutral. No hater watching. It's just I get to sit there as a neutral and enjoy the basketball spectacle, because I think that's what we're going to get for the next 11, 12, 13, 14 days, whatever it is going to be. Man, that Knicks Pacers series might be an absolute grind. For sure. All right. Let's see what we got from the chat today. We've got Michelangelo joining. We've got Vedant Patel joining. We have Alamdur joining. Kyle Lowry fan page joining as well. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. A few topics we're covering today. They're in the title of the stream, so not much to really leave up to mystery here. We're going to talk about the rumors of Masai Ujiri potentially leaving to join the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to be talking about the Lakers showcasing interest in acquiring Jakob Poeltl in the offseason. And we are also going to be talking about some former Raptors in the conference finals, thriving on new teams after being traded away by the Raptors in a move to tank. How the Raptors would the Raptors maybe want to go back and consider having a mulligan, let's say, on those trades? Would they want those back if they had the opportunity? So some interesting questions and some mystery topics to cover along the way. And as always, if you have any questions, you have anything that you want to discuss on the stream, you can let me know in the chat, and I should be able to get to everything today. Going to be live for about an hour today. I've had about a pretty hectic day. I also have to run an errand after the stream. So I want to do that and be able to get home in time for the 8:30 tip for today's game. Anyways, how are we doing? How's everyone's week going? How was your long weekend? My goodness, did I enjoy my long weekend? Well, unfortunately, my fiance was away for the weekend, so house to myself. But it did provide me an opportunity, apartment to myself. It did provide me an opportunity on Monday to just literally do nothing. I just sat at home and absolutely, positively chilled. Absolutely chilled. So that was pretty nice. Enjoyed that. But bit of a lighter week for work as well. Tomorrow, Europa League final for Manchester United. I'm very nervous. I have a soccer game tomorrow as well after that. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff. Anyways, we also have Daniel C. joining us, Winner 1 joining us as well. And we have John Posadas and Nick Killer, Reggie Miller, one of our 12-month members. Hey, how about it? You got the rematch of the Nick Killer, Reggie Miller matchup. Indiana Pacers versus the New York Knicks. Reggie Miller will be on commentary, I believe, for all 7 potential games as well. Isn't that amazing? Thomas Perry in chat. We also have Sumaya potentially watching behind the scenes, another one of our great members. What a comment here by John, though. I sold you your golf shoes at Golf Town a couple years ago. Yeah. I do remember that. I do remember meeting you, so that's great. Unfortunately, I've only played 2 rounds in those shoes. Shortly after I bought them, I played 1 round in them, and then I tore my ACL, and then last year, just still feeling the effects of it a bit, and moving to Toronto, I haven't golfed as much. So last year I only played once, so I played 2 rounds in them. They're great, both the rounds I played in them, but yeah, I just haven't used them a lot. But I do remember that. That was good. And hey, golf shoes, they don't go bad, so I can wear them when I need to wear them, and they're gonna do a good job when they need to do a good job. Isn't that funny though? Yeah, weird spots where you. No, I didn't tear my ACL in the shoes. I tore my ACL playing soccer. It just happened to be the morning after the first round I had played in. I'd played in them for the first time. So I bought new clubs. I got fitted for clubs. First time. I'd been using clubs from the year I was born. Like clubs from the late 90s, early 2000s. And then just decided to upgrade. Was looking at it. It's a bit tougher in the lefty market to find clubs. And then I kind of heard good things about getting fitted. It's just you're gonna use them for a really long time. Why not just pay a little extra, get clubs that are fitted for you? I was like, yeah, it's a good idea. So I went and got fitted for clubs. I was excited. Going to be golfing a bunch in the summer. First round of the year. Clubs are great. I played really well. And then literally the next morning, I was playing soccer and tore my ACL. So no more golf for that summer. And then last year, I just unfortunately didn't get out there enough. It's just tough not having a car. And, not being a lot of courses nearby. So it is what it is. So, hey, like I said, clubs don't go bad. The shoes don't go bad. But the shoes were not the problem. Are we eyeing any player from other teams? We're not. We can't really be a team that's trying to eye up a piece. We don't have any cap space really. So the Raptors aren't really in a position to be shopping necessarily. They're the vendor in a way. More so than the person shopping. But we'll see. Maybe rumors can pop up. Of course, with the Lakers, there's always going to be rumors, and it's so obvious what the Lakers need. They need a center. They're going to trade for a center, so naturally they're going to look at perhaps somebody like Jakob Poeltl. Shopping around, I'm sure they're going to float RJ Barrett's name and see what's out there, but I don't ultimately see any big move happening. But, you never know. Absolutely never know. The lefty as well. Clubs are so tough to shop for. Yeah, I could have found a set or something, but I was doing well. I just got a job. I just moved out. I had a bunch of savings from when I was living at home, so it's get a nice set of clubs. Start golfing more. It's didn't work out. It's all right. I'm playing soccer a bunch, so that takes up a lot of time. I play soccer tomorrow as well. No ride, though. Got to figure out ride for a bunch of my teammates as well. Anyways, enough on that. They offered up RJ for Ingram, but the Pels wanted Brown's expiring contract instead. Yeah, RJ Barrett doesn't move the needle for them, so no, they don't. They didn't need a player like RJ. They needed the cap space. They didn't need that RJ Barrett contract. Doesn't help them enough. RJ Barrett's not plug and play type of guy. He's not top of my head, Derek White. Derek White, say what you want. Derek White, we know is amazing. That's a ball knowledge test because he's amazing. If you don't think he's amazing, you don't know ball. Is Derek White as talented as RJ Barrett? Probably not. Is Derek White more effective for a team that wants to win a championship? I think it's a no-brainer, yes, than RJ Barrett. Kind of just is what it is there. So Derek White, if the Celtics, and let's say the Celtics decide this summer, we're not going to win a chip next year because of Tatum's injury, and we're already in financial trouble. Let's just make, let's just have a bit of not a fire sale, but let's start shopping guys around. And maybe Derek White's name ends up in trades. I think 29 teams are making a call about Derek White. If the Raptors started shopping RJ Barrett, I don't think there's a ton of teams making that phone call. I like RJ, but I think that's just the facts. I'd like to get fitted for some irons, P790s or something. I don't know any names of any clubs. I walked in with my 20-year-old clubs. The guy who was doing the fitting made fun of me. And then he just started giving me a bunch of shit. I ended up with like some tailor-made stealth something. But they're nice. I also did a bit of driving. Didn't end up going with a driver from the fitting, but I got the year previous version of the same driver that I got fitted for. So I got that a lot cheaper than would have gotten the standard driver. And that, man, I love that driver. That's the best thing I came out of with at the fitting overall. But yeah, so I recommend it if you've got 1,000 to 1,500 to spend, then I'd say it's worth it. But I'm not an avid golfer, and I haven't used them much. The experience is nice in the sim, and you get clubs that are made for you, right? That's when I don't want to draft Derek Queen, guys that aren't plug and play, restrict roster building. Yeah, when you look at the draft, a lot of what you have to consider, and this has kind of just started to hit me a little bit. Like, I watched the Denver Nuggets, who have had quite a few draft picks in recent years, and some later than others. Yeah, that's a timeout. Some later than others, but like they haven't had like any top picks, but they also have not gotten a hit on a lot of like later draft picks. Like Christian Brown, obviously big step this year. That's a hit. Peyton Watson was a late pick. Like I think he got drafted late first. I want to say would have been the Coloco year, so 2023. I believe Peyton Watson was a 2023 draft pick. Was he a 40th something? Was he not that year? Was he 2022? Yeah, it was 2022. Oh, sorry, 2022. That's what it is, not 2023. Mixing up my years. I think it was like 27th, if I'm not mistaken. 30th. Okay, he went 30th overall. Julian Strother, where did he go? There's going to be a point to this. Julian Strother went 29th overall. So, yeah, a lot of late first that they've... they got a hit on Christian Brown, who did help them win the chip and was great this year. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is what the Denver Nuggets lacked in that series against OKC was just an extra body to throw in for big minutes. Like they got a really good Game 6 out of Julian Strother, but not much else. It was kind of tough for them to give Peyton Watson any minutes. Like they were really running a 6-man unit, like essentially. And especially after Russ was struggling in that series, it was really tough for them. So extremely tough series for the Nuggets because they didn't have enough guys. And what that kind of highlighted to me about the NBA draft, you really need to look for guys, and this is should be like obvious statement, like it's not some outrageous, outlandish hot take, but you need to look for a guy. If you're in a Game 7 of the playoffs, is this guy going to be able to play? Can he stay on the floor for meaningful minutes in a Game 7? Not closing the game necessarily, not starting, but can he sub in to a Game 7 and I can trust him to play some basketball? Nuggets didn't have enough of those. So how do you find, obviously, it's obviously what you're looking for in the draft, but what are the traits commonly associated with a player that can stay in a game 7, essentially? So what is something that's going to increase a player's floor? Defense, straight up. Like, if you can play defense, you've probably got a role somewhere. Shooting, secondary to that. But, like, if you can shoot a 3, you've probably got a chance to stay on the floor. You have both of those things, you're on your way. So if at the very least you can play defense and maybe shoot, like, there's something there. On the side of going further down the list, like athletic as well. Can you guard multiple positions? Size is a factor. So, like, a lot of what the Raptors have done, you know, people like to roast the Masai Ujiri draft strategy of sometimes, like, where the Raptors keep looking for this two-way athletic 6'9" wing. But, like, they're just giving themselves chances to find someone who's going to be able to stay out there in a game 7. So, yeah, watching the playoffs this year, that's what just makes me kind of think. Now, this high in the draft, maybe you don't have to worry about that as much because you think, hey, this guy should be talented enough where they don't need to necessarily check those boxes. But it's just something to consider for the draft when evaluating a player. Okay, are these the traits of somebody who's on the floor in meaningful minutes in the game 7? The stealth's nice. Terry makes the P790 the driver sweet as hell. Yeah, I don't know. I have, like... What's my driver? I think I have a Ping G5. No, is that it? No, G5 is like the super old one I had. Now I have the... No, I think I had the Ping G5, and that was like... ancient. So then my upgrade was it was another Ping one, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I got the receipt in my emails. And I can check. Anyways, I really like it, whatever it is. Maybe it's like Ping 425 or something. Let me see. Okay, I have the receipt. It's just loading. While that loads. Any major takeaways from the playoffs this year? Okay, well, like that, what I just said there. Yeah, Ping G425 Max is what I have. And that thing is fucking sweet. On top of that, what works and what doesn't. Sorry, I thought my dog was pissing. She's just lying down. Oh, my God. What you doing? What else works? Yeah, traditional centers are back. They're back, baby. Enough of this nonsense about how Poeltl is bad. Like, Poeltl's style doesn't suit the Raptors. Enough. Like, the amount of teams who are now going to look at Jakob Poeltl and think that is our guy. Like, we wish we had this guy. Seriously, Poeltl, that style's back. I mean, multi-big lineups are back. Size is back. It's the defense that comes with it. And it's the rebounding. Like, rebounding is just so massive right now. Like you saw, like the Houston Rockets. I know they were lacking a lot of players, and then this is kind of what they came up with. But they were playing Şengün. Hey, leave that. Picking up my garbage. Hey, leave that. They were playing Şengün, Steven Adams, and Jabari Smith in the same lineup. Basically, like, almost 3 bigs. 2 traditional bigs. It's like Şengün's a bit different, but, like, you know what I mean. Bigs are big. Bigs are important. Get out of there. So, you need another Gasol. Like you pretty much have him, aside from the shooting. And Gasol wasn't even that good of a shooter, right? But at least he could kind of shoot. But yeah, that's it. Why are we trading Poeltl? We're not. Lakers want him, though. That's the rumor. We'll get there. We'll get to it. Yeah. You need defense, you need shooting, you need size. the shooting doesn't have to come from the center. Like, don't know why a common theme with Raptors fans is that, okay, we need shooting. Well, obviously then just trade Poeltl. Like, no, because you also need that really badly, and he's really good. So, two big takeaways: what the kind of players you need to look at in the draft, and bigs are back. Not like they ever really left, but yeah, rim protecting bigs are going to become much more popular, and in fact, double big lineups are going to become much more popular as well in the NBA. Look, it's just some of the teams that are left, like some decent examples. Chet and Hartenstein, solid example. To a certain degree last year, Gobert and Cat, but to a certain degree this year, Randall and Gobert. Like, it's important to have some size out there. It's not like a center and like four wings anymore. Like really size down low does help. There's examples of that like not happening as well, but like even some Mitchell Robinson Cat lines. Like how good has Mitchell Robinson been in the playoffs other than his free throws? So it's big, and I think for the Raptors, maybe that secondary big is just Scotty Barnes down low on defense, but Poeltl's very essential if the Raptors want to be a good team. Someone like Ibaka. It's tough. It's tough to, like, the Raptors traded a lot to get Ibaka. Wasn't it like a first-round pick to Orlando? Or was it OKC? Sorry. Terrence Ross in a first. Door's open. You can come in, man. So he had to trade a first to get a backup big. That's what it took to get Ibaka. Good enough to start, obviously, but the Raptors traded first, get a backup big. Like, their team was so stacked, they had the luxury of just piecing together their roster like that. Not right now. I can't help you. It's open if you want to come in. You got out with it like that. I can't say we are a top 5 or 6 team. We can be, though. The East is pretty open. I mean, Boston, I think, will be a playoff team next year because the East is bad, but, like, there's no top dog really in the East. Like the Cavs, I guess, but there's some open spots. If you had a really good year, you could easily get yourself into a top 6 conversation. Like, Pistons will probably be looking at like a top 4 conversation next year. For sure. Like, the Bucks are going to fall off. The Celtics are going to fall off. Like, Pistons might have a home seed. That's probably what they're going to be aiming for. Yeah, it'd be nice to get another Gasol type, like a Hall of Fame big. It'd be nice to just get that, but it's not super easy. Yeah, either. Like, Poeltl's very good. That's not the position that needs, like, of all the things that need to change. That is like the one thing the Raptors have that is like just completely locked down. This is a big that could start Game 7 of the NBA Finals. You have that with Poeltl. Confidently say that about his role. I don't know if anybody else in the roster you can absolutely 100% confidently say they have that, they fit that role. Like, Ingram, as great as he is that's your first player on offense. Game 7 NBA Finals, is that a guy you have complete trust in? I'm not sure. Scotty Barnes, I definitely don't think you can say that. Definitely can't say it about Quickly and Barrett. Like, the one thing that is absolutely, like, you're making like almost a perfect, not quite perfect, because like in a perfect world, Poeltl can shoot, but like you're more than happy with that as your big going into an NBA Finals. That is not where the Raptors need help and need a position change. There are way more pressing issues. Like that is like, you've built the car and you're already like maybe gonna win the race, but you make like little tinkering to make it like a little bit better. That's like Jakob Poeltl trade conversation. But Man, you've got like a super high quality big. I just don't see any need whatsoever to consider moving on from that at all. Like not there isn't like a shadow of a doubt in Poeltl's ability to be the center for the team for me. It's just Filipowski, sure, man. Like Jazz will bite our hand off if we offered them Poeltl in that. That's crazy. Oh, as a backup, sorry. As a backup. No, I think Filipowski, let's go back to like what I was saying earlier, like about is that a guy you can trust in a big game? But the defense, definitely not. Like I don't see Filipowski getting to a point where a big playoff game, that's a guy you feel comfortable subbing in. You know what I mean? All right, you're done. You're done. You got to go out now. You got to go. You're whining too much. All right, go. Go. It astonishes me that, not that anybody in chat to, but there's a perception that Poeltl is a problem, but he's extraordinarily far from even being in that conversation. I don't think we're overrating the Raptors. The East is more open. Like, let's look at the NBA standings. Okay. So Cavs will still be there. Knicks will still be there. Pacers will still be here. Pistons will still be here. So there's 4 teams. That could be your top 4. Celtics and Bucks, like probably in the, anywhere from like 5 to 10 probably. Nets are still bad. Like the Sixers will come back a little bit, but I don't think they'll be a top 4 team out of nowhere. I don't think Ace Bailey does that. So Wizards are still bad. Hornets are still bad. Nets are still bad. Bulls will be not very good. I don't think the Heat are just all of a sudden going to be a good team. The Magic could come up a little bit. That's Magic getting, they're getting older. They can move up a little bit. Bucks, I think Boston could still fight for these spots here. So you want to be in the mix with like, honestly, with maybe a little bit with Boston, maybe a little bit with Orlando, the Bucks, the Heat, the Hawks if they get better. I'm not sure what their strategy is going to be for the offseason. There's probably a lot of opening from 5 to 10. So, if you like, I'm not sure. Like 44 wins, is that attainable? Maybe. And I think a 500-plus record is good enough to get you in that area. And I think the Raps are capable of doing that. So I'm not sure. I think they're capable of top 6. But I think their most likely spot is a play-in spot. But it doesn't just happen in 1 year usually. Yeah, a guy like Ibaka shooting threes, head good defense. Yeah, it'd be great to get a play like that. As every team's looking for. Someone who can shoot and defend. That's every position your goal, but it's not as easy as just it's easier. It sounds easier than it is. That's what it is, type thing. Sixers will be back too, though. I mentioned them as well, but there's a lot of space to maneuver in there. I don't think playing at best. I think they're good enough to be. I think they're good enough to be a top 6 team. But we'll see. Sometimes cultures, everything. Like the Pistons are one of the losingest cultures out there, and they put things together, won 44 games, so it's not impossible. But let's get into some of the topics here. But like I said, Raptors have an important offseason ahead. They want to be a playoff team. They want to get back into that position, but there's a lot of different ways this season can go. They could be a top 6 seed. They could be a team on the outskirts of the play-in tournament type thing. There's a lot of variance, I think, for the Raptors this season, but there's a lot of things they have to try and nail in the offseason with not a lot of financial capabilities to do so. And in knowing that, in a complicated spot, it's a big offseason for Masai Ujiri, but a big offseason in a couple of ways. First of all, Masai Ujiri is heading into what has been reported by Sportsnet as the final year of his contract. And there are teams that are looking maybe to bring him in. The Atlanta Hawks are looking for a little bit of an overhaul. They've just let go of former Raptor, actually, Landry Fields as GM, and have apparently expressed interest in getting on with Masai Ujiri. So Masai in the past has been courted pretty aggressively by some teams. New York Knicks made a decently aggressive push to try and get Masai Ujiri a few years ago. The very infamous Adrian Wojnarowski tweet from like 5 minutes after the Raptors won the championship in 2019. Adrian Wojnarowski was putting out reports that the Washington Wizards were looking to get Masai Ujiri. Like, can we like celebrate our championship for 5 minutes, Woj? But anyways, teams have been enamored with Masai Ujiri in the past, so it's no surprise that a team that has a vacancy in an executive role is looking at somebody like Masai Ujiri, especially Masai Ujiri heading into the final year of his contract. And on top of just a cloud of 1 year remaining on your contract, Rodgers has taken a much larger role with the Raptors ownership in the last year or two. And Ed Rodgers, the leader of that, was very adamant against bringing Masai Ujiri back when his contract expired previously. Like, this is probably like the height of Masai Ujiri's hype and team building. He did not want to bring him back. Believes some of it was felt as though a bit of it was lucky, and also felt like a lot of people could have done what Masai Ujiri did for the Raptors. Hard disagree, was very upset by those comments, but as much as Masai Ujiri has commented on the relationship not being a problem there, this is an ownership group that has expressed disinterest in signing Masai Ujiri in the past. So if there is a lure of a bigger, better deal somewhere else, who knows? Something could happen. I'm not really sure. I think at this point, Masai Ujiri kind of sees a plan in process here for the Raptors. Hopefully, wins start to happen over the course of next season. They start to showcase that, yes, we can get back to being a winning team once again. I don't think Masai Ujiri would end up leaving, but I can absolutely 100% see it. Now, is Masai Ujiri moving on good or bad for the Raptors? I think, and I've been asked this, my thoughts in the front office, I think that this front office dug themselves a massive hole. They waited way too long with the Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes core. They waited way too long to make a move with that team. They kind of just kept status quo with that team and were hoping something would kick on, but they just weren't. The roster just was never constructed to a level for that team to be successful. And I think the big thing that they were always missing was a center, an actual center like Jakob Poeltl. And by the time they went out and made that trade for Jakob Poeltl, it was too late. Kind of the writing was on the wall of that team. They were already way behind the playoff pack, had to settle for a 9 seed, play-in tournament, lose in the first round. And after half a season of Jakob Poeltl, all of a sudden, there were conversations about, completely moving on from the core. Fred VanVleet walked. All of a sudden, now Pascal Siakam's getting traded. OG Anunoby's getting traded. And all of this happened, like all these trades kind of happened where the Raptors didn't maximize the returns on the value for these players either. So they made a bad trade that made the Raptors go for the play-in tournament, sacrificed a tank in a year that fucking Victor Wembanyama was available. So it sacrificed that draft pick a little bit. Raptors fall to 13th. They get Grady Dick, who is a good player. Not going to dispute that. But you look at, some of the players that could have been a little bit high, that were a little bit higher, with the possibilities that could have arose from that. Whatever. Like, the timing of that trade was bad. Just didn't make sense. It's great to have Jakob Poeltl on the team. I'm a massive fan. The timing just didn't make sense. If that trade happens like a year sooner, maybe things work out differently for that group. Who knows? But dug themselves a big hole with that trade, and even like years like trading a first for Thaddeus Young previously giving Thad too big of a contract, giving Chris Boucher too big of a contract, you could say. A lot of things that dug themselves a hole. Then, since then, they started to work back a little bit. You know, the OG trade, did they maximize the value? Maybe not, but still a pretty good return. RJ Barrett, 31st overall pick, Emmanuel Quickley. Like, pretty solid return there. The Pascal Siakam trade wasn't great, but then they turned the stuff they got for Siakam into Brandon Ingram and Ochai Agbaji and the pick that became Jacoby Walter. So, did a pretty good job of digging themselves out of that mess a little bit. So we're still in the process of kind of working back into things with this front office group. And I think that they've got some ideas of where to take this team. So I think you got to let them see it out a little bit. And I'd want to see Masai Ujiri continue to do that, because what the front office does have, it has continuous hits in the draft. We have control of all of our draft capital. Masai Ujiri has a great track record from the draft. He's a great track record in making trades up until maybe recently. So I'd like to see this front office group kind of see out this. I hate to use the word process because it's been tainted, but for lack of a better term, this process and this team building that they are creating. But a lot of it hinges on next season. If things go really poorly next season, then there will be a conversation about Masai Ujiri's future. The Raptors can't add on to the team in the offseason at all. They're kind of constricted by the cap, but there will maybe be a desire from ownership for a change. So I'm not sure. And if there is those rumblings, what does this look like for Masai? If those rumblings happened in the summer, what does it mean for this vacancy with the Atlanta Hawks? I don't know. Ultimately, to finish it off, I think Masai Ujiri is happy with the Raptors and wants to continue working here. And the only thing that could lure him away is like a S-tier job, like a top-tier, top-of-the-line sort of role. And I really don't believe that the Atlanta Hawks are offering that here. Tough to be disrespectful to them, but I think it's like a top-tier role that he is going to be, like he would be searching for. And I think he'd be patient in finding that. I don't think Atlanta the team to do that. So as far as this offseason, I don't see him being lured away. But in the offseason, when that contract's up, I don't know. I won't say it won't happen for sure. Definitely can't say that. I'd be happy to keep him though. At this point, I'd still be happy to keep him. Like this new Rodgers ownership will burn the team to the ground. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it. I don't think we'll really know until like the team is hopefully the team at some point soon is like good again and it's like challenging for contention. If you want to be a contender, you've got to start thinking about luxury tax, apron, and that stuff. I'm interested to see if and when the time comes for this team to potentially be a champion, are they going to pay up to try and make that happen? Or are they going to be cheap? That'll kind of be a determination of the ownership group a little bit. So we'll see. You think the Lakers will really go for Poeltl? Yeah. I think that's close. I wouldn't say that's exactly what they need, because I think an athletic rim runner is a bit better for Luka. But yeah, Poeltl will be an amazing fit with the Lakers, no doubt about it. That's a dominant pick and roll partnership with Luka. Not the lob threat you would more commonly associate with Luka, but kind of makes up on the defensive end what he could bring, and the passing that he could bring that maybe the athletic rim runner can't quite bring. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I've been harping on about Poeltl like this entire stream, how big of a fan I am in Poeltl, and I'm really confused why, when there's talk of the Raptors and changes to make the team better, I'm very confused when Poeltl is listed as a player that should or could be traded. Poeltl, I think, is a player that a lot of teams would be very happy to be going into a Game 7 of the NBA Finals with as their starting center. A lot of teams would be very, very happy there. Like, maybe not Denver because they've already got Nikola Jokic, but this is a player I would trust in the biggest game in basketball, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Bigs are coming back coming back into fashion a little bit more now, but the reason for that is rebounding, which he's fantastic at, rim protection, which he's fantastic at, pick and roll, which he's fantastic at. People focus too much on what he doesn't have, which is spacing. And hey, it would be nice if he had spacing. But there's a lot of other bigs out there that don't have all these other traits that I've listed that make Poeltl such a fantastic player. And I think he's pivotal to the success of the Raptors. Like, they want to be a playoff team next year. I don't think that happens. I don't think it can happen without that sort of player like Jakob Poeltl. But other teams are looking at Poeltl as well, naturally, looking at what Poeltl could offer them. And the Lakers, who will shop for anybody and evidently can do so successfully after acquiring Luka Doncic, now need a center. It was a no-brainer to make that trade, trading Anthony Davis and the 1 pick to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic. No-brainer, because that's 10 years of Luka Doncic you can have, pretty much. 10 years of potential success there. Now, they had to make that trade, but they probably understood in that moment that they made themselves a little bit worse in the process. Maybe not worse from like a team talent standpoint, but from a roster construction standpoint. They really missed out on not having that center, that presence as a big for the playoffs. They missed that. That's something that absolutely would have helped them. But they sacrificed this season maybe a little bit, knowing what they could then do in the future with Luka Doncic. But everyone knows they're going to get a center this summer. Which center is it going to be? They're going to revisit the interest, according to Hoop Hype's Michael Scotto. They're going to be looking at Jakob Poeltl in order to make that happen. Now, Poeltl's not the exact type of big that the Lakers probably want. Availability is key because they wouldn't want somebody who maybe has a chance of getting traded, and maybe Poeltl does. I'm not sure. But the ideal big man for a guy like Luka Doncic is a rim runner who is a big lob threat, like Derek Lively. What a fit that was for Doncic. Not quite Daniel Gafford, but a lob threat, super athletic big. Poeltl doesn't really provide that. He makes up for that with a lot of things, like the rim protection, like the pick and roll game, which is fantastic, like the spacing can provide with those screens and with the high post passing. That's big. That's important. That does make a difference for teams. Absolutely 100%. And I can absolutely see why the Lakers are looking to get him. But also the Raptors traded, it cost them, when Poeltl was on an expiring contract, it cost the Raptors a pretty significant first-round pick in the end. It cost them, in a weaker draft, but it cost them an 8th overall pick to get Jakob Poeltl. So, it cost a lot. And you look at the Lakers right now, what is there to offer? They got 1 pick to offer, yes. That pick is less valuable because they have Luka Doncic now, and it's like, well, they're going to probably be pretty good. They have Luka Doncic. They have Austin Reeves to offer. Does that get it done? I'm not sure that gets it done. But also, the Raptors want to be a playoff team. And like I opened up with, if the Raptors want to be a playoff team, they need a player like Poeltl. And if they trade Poeltl away, now the task for them is going to become, where are we going to find a big from? Where are we going to find our big from? And it's not that easy to get one. Maybe Nick Claxton is available, but now you have to go and make a trade for Nick Claxton. Is Nick Claxton as good as Jakob Poeltl? I don't know. Maybe he's a better defender. Is he as good of a pick and roll player? I don't think so. Is he as good of a passer? I don't think so. Is he as good on offense? I don't think so. So Claxton's great, but I think Poeltl might be a little bit better. And just the difficulty in getting Claxton. Now the burden is on you to get a center when you already had one that was really good. So for me, the Raptors are going to want to keep Poeltl anyways because they want to be a good team. And the Lakers just don't have the stuff to make this trade happen. Look, the Lakers, they're ones to ask around. They're ones to try and get on every little thing here. But this is, to me, just probably not one that's going to end up working out on their end. But again, from a Raptors perspective here, everyone talks about the spacing center they need type of thing. Like, just because a center can shoot, they're not as good as other stuff. Like, bad example right now because the Indiana Pacers are currently in the conference finals with him. Like, Miles Turner. Great. He can shoot. That's great. But he's also nowhere near as good of a rebounder as Poeltl. Like, Miles Turner is not a good rebounder. And probably not as good. And he's definitely not as good of a defender. So, yeah, you can find a center who can shoot, but you also miss out on the other things that a center brings, which Jakob Poeltl does for the Raptors. So when having conversations about the types of players that the Raptors need and players that could be exchanged for that, Poeltl shouldn't be one of them in my opinion. So I can absolutely see why the Lakers want to make a big push to get him, but it would be wise from the Raptors if they want to win, and all indications are right now that they do want to win. If Raptors want to win, it would be very, very wise to just hang on to Jakob Poeltl here. Just another offseason of these Poeltl conversations. And I think getting a backup will also be super helpful for the Raptors. It'd be nice to have Ibaka. It's just, a lot of teams want Ibaka. And Ibaka costs a lot to get. Costs first-round pick to get Ibaka. So it's hard to find that. And we are going to talk about this Eastern Conference Finals matchup as well. As pointed out by Nick Killer in the chat, one of our great members, it is Siakam versus OG in the Eastern Conference Finals. Siakam of the Indiana Pacers playing very, very well. Was an all-star this season. Probably has a case to make All-NBA. Three-time All-Star. If he makes All-NBA, it'll be the third time in his career he will have made an All-NBA team as well. So, pretty damn good for a guy who was scapegoated quite heavily by a lot of this Raptors fan base. On the side of OG Anunoby, Raptors fans knew it all along how good this guy was, but it took a trade to a big American market to know just how impactful OG Anunoby is on winning, especially on the defensive end, but the shooting that comes with it as well. Two very, very good players that the Toronto Raptors decided to move on from. So we're going to take a look back at those trades and kind of wonder if the Raptors had made the right decision. Would they go back and undo those trades, kind of knowing where they are with their team currently? So, first of all, Pascal Siakam. I think this one's a little bit easier because it was tough. You kind of had this battle, not like an actual battle, but the year Pascal Siakam got traded was the real emergence of Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes was an all-star that season. I think it helped playing next to Pascal Siakam to get that all-star berth because they played really well with each other. Contrary to the loud opinions of people, they were great together. They got along really well, and as much as you'd think their play styles didn't mesh, they did. They played really well off of one another, and you saw Barnes made an all-star team out of it. But it felt a lot like in the early stages of that season that Siakam was being misused and underutilized overall by the Raptors. But it was definitely a conversation that needed to be had if Siakam, because that was a contract year for Siakam, there definitely was a conversation that needed to be had in regards to Siakam being worthy of the max contract at the end of the season. That was a tough one because I think it was Siakam had made it clear he wanted to stay. Basically, the caveat was, okay, you got to pay him a max contract. Are you ready to do that? Do you believe in this core? And I don't think the Raptors fan base was necessarily upset when it was a decision to pivot towards rebuilding when they traded Siakam. They got the salary of Bruce Brown and 3 first-round picks for it. Not the greatest of first-round picks either. It was 2 very late first-round picks and a Pacers middle of the pack sort of pick. Trying to remember exactly what those picks were. It was Pacers pick that year, and it was a late first that year, and it was a 2026 Pacers pick. That's what it was. Pacers pick for that year, 2024, late first for that year, ended up being the 29th overall pick, and a 2026 Pacers pick. So not like really a lot out of that, but fans understood why the trade was made, thinking it was a rebuilding move. Now, since then, Siakam has thrived with Indiana. Very happy for him. Still a massive Pascal Siakam member. The Raptors have pivoted quite well off that trade. They basically turned the assets from that trade into Brandon Ingram, Ochai Agbaji, and the pick became Jacoby Walter, who I don't like looking at it through that lens, but for just the ease of this conversation, let's look at it through the lens of the player we got from the draft pick. Because they used that late first to get Agbaji and Olynyk, Olynyk's gone, who in the trade that got Brandon Ingram. So essentially, they traded Pascal Siakam for Brandon Ingram, for Ochai Agbaji, who was great last year, and for Jacoby Walter, who looks like a very promising young player. So ultimately, I think that trade worked out. I think you got more value out of Siakam than you maybe would have had you kept him, because you got those 2 additional players. Brandon Ingram, I don't think is as good as Pascal Siakam, but complicated situation with the expiring contract. Now, you could argue they should have traded Siakam earlier when he was worth more. Sure, I think they did a pretty good job out of that trade in the end. The OG Anunoby trade, I'm not really sure I'm going to look back and say did a good job there, because at the time it looked great, and RJ Barrett's been great for the Raptors, and Quickly's been when he's healthy, he's been great, but overall he's been fine for the Raptors. You also got the 31st overall pick in that trade, which became Jonathan Mobo. You got rid of Flynn and Chua, who are worthless, pretty much, like, whatever, don't care about them, respectfully. But that Siakam trade is like a rebuilding type of trade, but that OG Anunoby trade kind of showcased a lack of patience for a rebuild from the Raptors. Like, that was a team that wanted to start winning pretty quickly, it seemed. That's why they didn't want picks. They had turned down, the 3 first-round picks type of offer for OG. They wanted players. They wanted to be good again quickly. And I think in knowing that, I do think it's kind of tough to say, but looking back on that OG trade and how impactful he is on winning, you kind of look back on that trade and think, man, that might have been one you wanted to keep. Like, that's the type of player everyone's looking for. And I said at the time, when in the conversations around trading OG, if you trade away OG Anunoby, you're just going to spend the next 5 years trying to find another OG Anunoby. Because everyone is looking for that elite defender who can shoot threes very efficiently. So, at the time, yeah, and I think Barrett's great. I think Quickly's great. But in terms of winning and being a playoff team, does maybe OG Anunoby provide more value to that? I think he does. So that's tough. Right now, I kind of look at it that way. If Quickly really kicks on for the Raptors, if Barrett really kicks on for the Raptors, then maybe this conversation shifts again, and we go back to think, okay, the Knicks got better immediately. The Raptors took a little bit more time, but they got there with those players. So that makes it a little bit more tough. But presently, the Raptors did pretty well with the Siakam trade. They did okay with the OG trade, but like, if you wanted to win this quickly, like, I guess it gave the Raptors the opportunity to tank in 2 consecutive drafts. They didn't get to use that pick in one of them, but it gave them the 9th pick here. And maybe they would have thought they could have gotten better than the 9th pick, but they also started this season with the intention of making the playoffs if they were good enough to do it. So there was never really a clear desire to tank and rebuild and let that process play out for the Raptors. So going back and knowing that there wasn't ever really going to be a prolonged rebuild for the Raptors, I wonder like if you could go back and think, okay, if that's going to be the process, then why not stick it out with this group? You're missing a quality point guard. You're missing shooting off the bench, but you've got good players here. I don't know, but the OG one might sting a little bit more down the line. It's tough to say. But like the Knicks did well with it. I mean, the Raptors did okay with it. Like we got some value out of it. But like OG is, when I'm thinking of like the perfect sort of piece for a game 7 of the NBA Finals, OG is a perfect piece. At if you built the perfect like understanding salary cap, if you were building the perfect NBA Finals starting 5, OG might be in it. That type of player might be in it. You need that sort of player. Derek White for the Celtics. Amazing defender. Handles the ball well. Amazing shooter. Like that's a pivotal piece to a team a lot of the time. They're not the flashiest, most eye-catching, but they're so extraordinarily valuable. So, yeah. I missed them. But we'll see. We'll see it all plays out for the Raptors. Trying to make it work as well. Maybe it all works out down the line for us anyways. Maybe both teams got it right. Maybe both teams. Sorry. If the Knicks got 5 first-round picks from Mikal Bridges, and I think we could have got more for OG. Yeah. That's also part of it. It's a good thing to point out as well. Yeah. Is there more? You could have even got it of OG when you had the opportunity to do so. Maybe. But expiring contract as well. No guarantee he was going to sign with the Knicks, although, you don't make that trade without a little guarantee behind the scenes type of thing. Anyways, I'm happy for them. I'm still a big fan of those two, especially Siakam. Just thinking about the slander Siakam took after the bubble and in the Tampa season. And since then, he's made 2 more All-Star teams. He might make a 3rd All-NBA team, but at least 1 more All-NBA appearance after that. He's just a fantastic player. And in listening to conversations ahead of the conference finals, like Siakam is really being under discussed. Like he's so good. He's a zone defense breaker, absolute gamer. Just knows how to break down a defense. So good in isolation. He's been so extremely efficient for the Pacers this season. He's shooting the ball from 3, better than he ever has with the Raptors. He's been more efficient overall than most seasons he's had with the Raptors. How is he playing in the playoffs? I mean, just when we're watching him, he's been great in the playoffs as well. But Halliburton is taking on maybe a larger scale role because he's just been so good in the playoffs. But Pascal's been shooting 44% from free 55% from the field, 19 points per game. That's high level shit, man. That's top level shit from Pascal Siakam. But that's so incredible how well he's played there. Siakam works if he's not a number 1. Well, I'll tell you, when he was number 1 with the Raptors, he was All-NBA and an All-Star. So, and then he was an All-Star and All-NBA again for the Raptors as the number 1 option. So, he's pretty fucking good at that as well. You offer the Raptors a 2-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Star. That's pretty big piece. Pretty big draw to get. But, yeah, whatever reason didn't work out with the fans. Siakam got you a 5 seed, All-Star appearance, and All-NBA appearance as a first option. Like, that with no center. Literally no center on the roster. 0 backup point guards. Nowhere near enough floor spacing. And think, the team was so anti-Siakam. There was no floor spacing. So he had to do it with no space around him. And he was still that good. Like, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. It is disrespectful when people say, like, oh, he was never number 1. Like, obviously, he'll be better as number 2. Because if Siakam's your number 2, it means you have a player better than him. If you have a player better than Siakam, then that guy's probably freaking amazing. And, yeah, Halliburton's freaking amazing. Right? And clearly, Halliburton was voted like most overrated player in the league, so that's fucking stupid as well. Because Jesus Christ, how good is he? But it's just there's just a constant desire for there to be something bad about Siakam when all along he was just really good. And I'm glad he's getting some respect. I don't think he's getting enough ahead of the conference finals because, like, look, he's gotten traded. He's made back-to-back conference finals. Has he been the number 1 guy there? No, but he's been a very important guy there. He's been the number 2 guy there, and he's made another All-Star team with that. So, and hey, for a large portion of this season, he was their best player as well. Like Halliburton didn't make an All-Star team, did he this year? I know Halliburton's the guy right now in the playoffs, but Halliburton struggled out the start of the year, and yeah, he wasn't an All-Star. Siakam was. So there's a lot of talent there. But yeah, it's an impressive. He's a good player. Still a big fan. Evidently. A real point. Yeah, spacing is still an issue. The thing about spacing, like, you can't just draft a guy who can shoot. Like, you got to be able to play defense. How much does that shooting scale up to the NBA? Like, if Battle can get better and better. By the way, Jason Battle, I ran into him downtown the other day. I wasn't in a position to stop him or anything, but yeah, he was heading out to the bar on a late Friday night. He's pretty tall. Not as tall as Scotty Barnes, though. But yeah, if Jameson Battle gets better, that's an interesting one. If any of those Grady Dix, Jacoby Walters, Jameson Battle, any of those guys really step up and are like a rotation guy to winning team, that changes a lot. But the starting 5 is where there's the biggest spacing issue still. So I don't have a solution for that, unfortunately. What do you guys think, though? We'll end it here because I gotta go do some shit. End it here. What do we think for the series? How many games? Who wins and how many games each series? Yeah, Baji as well. The Baji kind of steps up even further as well. It's a good point. Like there's enough fit on the bench, but like in your key lineups, is there enough? I don't know. I'm gonna go Pacers in 7. I think their pace of play has a great opportunity to wear down the Knicks over the course of that series. But I think that I can see that series going either way. Okay. Definitely could go either way. On the side of the Thunder, I'm probably going to have to go Thunder in 6. I don't think the Timberwolves will have enough to get to 7, but I think they could. I think the Timberwolves are good enough to win that series. I don't think they will, though. But I'm excited to see if they can, because that's another really interesting series as well. Both are great series. I'm so excited as a neutral for either of these series, how they're going to go down. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Thunder in 6, Pacers in 7. is my prediction. All right, guys. Thank you for another stream. Fun stream. No video today. I had too much work. I was in office. I'm in office on Thursday as well. So I will be doing a video tomorrow. And then I will have the Saturday amateur answers coming at you guys as well. Those have been good, I think. I'm enjoying making those. I hope you guys are enjoying that piece of content. It's getting better attention than I thought it would. So we're going to keep running with it. I've got some errands to run. Then we get Western Conference Finals Game 1. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. I will check up on you next week. But hopefully I see you in some videos before that. Thanks.